Famous battle of the Vietnam War, but there was a bigger and bloodier conflict, the Battle of Coral and Balmoral. 45 years on, its veterans are calling for their fallen mates to be remembered. Victoria Cross recipient Ben Roberts-Smith joins 7 News as a guest reporter for our special Anzac series.
There was no thought of withdrawal. We stood our bloody ground and we fought tenaciously against a very determined enemy. You know, that they were bloody good and we'd repel them.
It was our biggest action in Vietnam, with the most diggers killed and wounded, the most enemy killed, and in 3 weeks of hell, the most sustained battle. At Enoggera Barracks, Brisbane, where it all started for them, I caught up with Coral veterans Neil Weeks and Jack Parr.
By rights, it should have gone the enemy's way. 2 things stopped them: artillery and good old guts from the Australian soldier.
Ticker.
Yeah, absolutely.
At this memorial walk for the Royal Australian Regiment, there is a tree planted for each of their men killed in action.
He was one of the 5 killed on the first attack at Coral.
So this was actually when you got overrun?
That's when we got overrun. He was one of the 5 that were killed and 8 wounded. And I'd been through training with Errol, and he was a great guy. Yeah. And it was a sad loss.
How old was he, mate, at the time?
He would have been 21.
Oh, 21?
Yes.
The Australians at Coral were pitted against the finest division of the North Vietnamese Army, the 7th.
They fired a barrage of rockets into our position and over our position. And shortly after that, there was a human wave attack.
So they just formed up?
They had formed up. They had actually crept up to about 30 metres in front of our position, so that when they come, they were right there in front of us, and we had no reaction time, and within minutes they were right through our position. We were totally surrounded and overrun by the enemy. In no time that we realised that we were taking casualties very heavily, and we were basically in survival mode.
The noise was just horrific. Our artillery was going out. We had light fire teams, helicopters and 2 Cobras. They were firing. We had our mortars firing. We had the jets coming in. Then they dropped 250-pound bombs. Then they came in and dropped napalm. And then the B-52s came in and you could feel the ground shake.
After Australian tanks were called in, the battle was finally won. 25 Australians were dead. At least 700 North Vietnamese, probably more, were killed. Coral was awarded a rare battle honour, but as the war went on, the welcomes home went from this.
They're home again. These young Australians, home from war, and they march with honour through the streets of Sydney.
To this.
The way that we were treated, you know, called baby killers, and we had paint thrown on COs. It was a very low point in Australia's history. To have to go and get changed in a bloody room, so I walked out in civvy clothes so I wouldn't be spat on or punched by demonstrators, that will leave an enduring scar on my memory about the way Australians treated some of our veterans.
Most Australians know about the Battle of Long Tan, but it is an oddity of history that most have never heard of our biggest battle in Vietnam.
But Coral Balmoral was the largest contact, the largest operation, the largest action of the Vietnam War for the Australians. And yet most of Australians don't know about it at all.